Alright, here we go. First set of this workout. We warmed up, did 135 for 10, went ahead and did 185 for 5, 225 for 1. We got 230 right here. I'm keeping my warm-up sets pretty close to my first working set because I really don't want to get hurt. So we're working in the 5 to 8 rep range and listening to our body. Obviously going to stop a little earlier if anything begins to hurt. So I'm going to get strapped in for this. I like to use straps even though I can grip this weight just so that I'm not focusing on my grip and I'm focusing more on my form. Gonna get strapped in and zoned, dialed for the set.
Super happy with the way that these went. I ended up getting 8 reps here, which is a 5-pound PR as of last week. This is definitely a bit of a challenging exercise because of the wider grip. This is going to put a lot more emphasis on the glutes, traps, lower back, spinal erectors, and lats. So really happy with how this is progressing, especially post back injury. So we're going to roll with this variation for a little bit until that back injury is cleared up, and I've gotten a lot stronger at lifting this way. I also usually do 2 sets in the 5 to 8 rep range of these, but today, after this first set, I noticed that my lower back and glutes were a little bit fried from this, so I did decide to listen to my body and cut this off at just 1 set of 5 to 8. I felt very happy about this because this was pretty close to failure, and I was making sure to reset myself between every rep and making sure that I'm not ego lifting in any way. So this was some great progress in the logbook, and I will look to add 5 more pounds the next time that this lift comes around in my program.
Alright, now we're moving on to an exercise for the upper back. Chest supported T-bar rows. In my opinion, these are the absolute GOAT for upper back development. Really good for getting those traps. Get a full range of motion in the chest support. Make sure you can't cheat any of the movement. Again, using straps here so I can focus on my back. Make sure that that's our limiting factor. You'll notice setting up for this is a little challenging because I am 5'2", so I'm gonna have to stand on the pads and sort of slide down. 145 pounds here, the 5 to 8 rep range. See how this goes.
For this exercise, getting a lot of upper back focus, so allowing the elbows to flare out a little bit to hit the traps, rear delts, and entire upper back and the teres groups. I really like this exercise. Again, like I mentioned, it's my favorite for hitting the upper back effectively. I do like to train my upper back first because it's a bit more my focus than my lats. My lats are fairly developed, so we are going to take these to failure for 3 sets, 2 sets within the 5 to 8 rep range, and then a 3rd set in the 7 to 10 rep range with some kelso shrugs on the end.
Not totally sure if those last couple reps counted, but that's why we film things. Chest did come off the pad a bit, but I'm really happy with that set. Great set, taken to failure. Alright, now we've got some chest supported T-bar rows again. This is going to be the 3rd set, so this set's a little bit higher reps. We're working in the 7 to 10 rep range, and we're going to do some kelso shrugs at the conclusion of this set. So once I've hit failure on regular reps, I'm going to move into some kelso shrugs and show you what it looks like when I get to failure.
So this is the 3rd and final set of chest supported T-bar rows. So on this 3rd and final set, I do like to take that beyond failure by doing the kelso shrug. The kelso shrug, as you'll see, is just a chest supported shrug, which is the initial pinching of the shoulder blades together to initiate this movement. This is an example of long length partials. These have a lot of attention in the media recently due to the rise of lifters like Sam Sulik and Jeff Nippard advocating that long length partials are fantastic for muscle growth. So the way that I implement them is I just add them onto the back end of once I have failed an exercise through a full range of motion. I'm still a really big fan of full range of motion training, so this is kind of how I combine those two techniques and add a little bit of intensity onto my final set of this movement. As you can tell, we've just hit failure since I can no longer do a full range of motion, so we are going to start the kelso shrugs. And again, I'm going to do these until I can no longer really contract my back properly, and that will mark the end of the set, as you can see there. So got a few extra kelso shrugs. I also add these into my logbook so I know exactly how many that I did.
Now we've got some neutral grip lat biased pull downs. So to do that, we're gonna use our straps, strap into the attachment. I want to make sure the handles are pretty much outside my shoulders, or at least close to my shoulders. This handle is going to be much better for hitting the lats than the regular super close one. So I'm going to get nice and secure and even in here. Sit down and get the legs underneath the pad, thumbs over the bar. Make sure that the back's the limiting factor. And then I'm going to arch my back and pull my chest toward the sky as I get set up before I do my first reps. All right, chest up.
For this exercise, I have 2 sets in the 7 to 10 rep range, and this is going to be really the biggest lat bias movement I've got in today's workout. Anytime a movement is pulling with the elbows close to the body, it will bias the lats a bit more, and if the elbows are flared out, like you saw on the chest-supported T-bar row, it will bias the upper back a little bit more. It doesn't really matter if it's a row or a pull-down. So we're getting the lats nice and cooked here. I only filmed 1 set of these, and I got 8 reps with 150 pounds, which is a progression by 1 rep over last week.
Good set.
Now we are moving into an upper back biased pull down. I am using the diverging lat pull down machine for this in an overhand grip with the thumbs over the bar. Here we have 190 pounds and I ended up getting 6 reps. This set was a little bit shaky, but it was a load progression from last week, so we'll just stick with the same load and try and get some more reps next week. Working 2 sets again in the 6 to 8 rep range with 3 minutes of rest in between. This is definitely going to hit a little bit of the upper lats because it is diverging, as I have mentioned, but it will primarily be hitting the upper back because we are keeping those elbows out. There's a lot of overlap when it comes to back work and back exercises between the lats and the upper back, but you can bias one part of your back depending on how you do the exercise. So this second set here is with 170 pounds. We cleared the rep range there and that felt pretty solid. So the back down set next week will increase in load, whereas the first set will stick with 190 pounds.
All right, now we're nice and chalked up for the next set. It's gonna help the grip a little bit. Make sure we get nice supinated grip in here. Grab it up here. Kick back from the foot plate. Lean back, get set, nice and straight.
This exercise here is going to target the lower lats a little bit directly, and of course elements of the upper back will be working as well since the arms are nice and close into the body. This is a good cable row variation. Been enjoying this a lot. However, it is a little bit hard to grip the mag as the weight starts to get heavy. We just used some chalk there to figure that out. I've got 2 sets here in the 8 to 12 rep range, just really working on getting quality reps. Toward the end of this set, my form does start to drop off a little bit and have a little body English, so we'll stick with this same load next week and work on improving our form as the weight gets heavy toward the end of the set.
Oof, that was a bit of a fight. I'm gonna clean those up next week. All right, now we're gonna get going with some preacher curls, hitting the biceps. We're gonna go 55 pounds here. So 10-pound jump from last week. When sitting up for these, what I want to do is I actually do want to round my back because I'm going to get a better bicep contraction if I do that. So I'm going to grab the handles. Don't want to be too narrow, don't want to be too wide. Grab the handles, pull it up, sit fully down on the back, just like that. Good contraction at the top.
For this exercise, I am loading that for 3 sets in the 7 to 10 rep range. A little higher volume for the biceps right now because I'm really focused on bringing up my arms. I'm also doing higher volume on my tricep work, which you'll see in my next push day vlog. Taking this absolutely all the way to failure. So as you can tell, after this rep, I'm not going to be able to complete another rep, but that's okay because now we know where failure is so that we can strive for a rep on top of that next week.
There we go. We've hit failure there. 7 reps, which is good, as we're in that 7 to 10 rep range. All right, to finish up the biceps, we're going to do a cable face away curl. So these are really going to get the biceps in the lengthened position. The previous preacher curl trains them in the shortened position. We want to get muscles short before we train them in lengthened positions. because it gets harder to get into that shortened position. So you get nice and short, arms are going to be behind the body, and we're going to just do some curls.
We've got 40 pounds here on each arm and each cable. This is pretty solid weight, and this variation actually serves as almost a lengthened partial because of how lengthened the biceps get when getting behind the body. If you don't have a setup like this, an incline dumbbell curl would be a great substitution, or a single arm cable curl. These definitely got tough. In the second and third sets, I did need to drop the weight down to 30 pounds a side, but that is a big progression over last week, which is what we're ultimately looking for. These are going to get tough toward the end, but either way, we're going to try and maintain form as best as we can and push toward failure. Thank you guys for watching my first workout vlog. I really appreciate it, and I intend to make more of these.